Happy New Year! I finished 42 books in 2024. 13 of them were new releases. Here they are, ranked worst to best, starting with one bad book. Number 13 on my list is called So You Want to Run a Country? By Kevin Holohan. This novel imagines a future dystopia where there is a game show. The winner of this game show gets to be the leader of a nation for a short period of time. This one was advertised as being similar to George Orwell, and I strongly disagree. This is more of a fantasy book where the author focuses too much on world building at the expense of the characters. That's the only new release that I ranked as bad, but we're not at the good ones yet. These next couple books were just all right. Number 12 on my list is The Age of Magical Overthinking, Notes on Modern Irrationality by Amanda Montell. Montell is a sociolinguist. Her 2021 book, Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism, was one of my favorite reads that year. This loose collection of essays was disappointing in comparison. Number 11 on my list is In Defense of the Goat That Continues to Wander Towards the Certain Doom of the Cliff by Darren C. Demery. This is probably the best title of a book this year. However, this collection of poems was not as interesting as its title. Number 10 on my list is The Dove That Didn't Return by Yael S. Hakonen. This is probably the best book cover art of the year, but don't judge a book by its cover. This collection of poems has some interesting things to say about violence and peace. The poet herself having served in the Israeli Defense Forces, as is required in Israel, but the poems are kind of hit or miss. Moving on to a few good books. Number 9 on my list is Coup de Grace by Sophia Ajram. This novella is f***ed up. If you like f***ed up abstract horror stories, check this one out. Number 8 is Being Reflected Upon by Alice Notley. This one is a memoir in poetry, new collection of poetry by the prolific American poet Alice Notley. It feels like stealing her diary, and sometimes it's rambling, sometimes there's some great moments across it. A lot of the time, I'm not really sure what she's talking about. Number 7, The Bullet Swallower by Elizabeth James Gonzalez. This one has two different timelines in it. One is a Western revenge story, late 1800s. Then there's a modern timeline where one of the descendants of the character from the other timeline is learning about their ancestors. This one would have been a lot better if it was just the Western timeline. I really liked that one. I could have done completely without the other timeline. Moving on to a couple of damn good books. Number 6 on my list is Sound Museum by Pupi Misagi. This one is another novella listed as horror, but in a very different way than Coup de Grace. The narrator is about to lead us on a guided tour of this museum of the sounds of torture from around the world. Really bizarre, but also pretty interesting. Breaking into the top 5 for me is The Heartbeat Library by Laura Imai Messini. This novel takes place in Japan. It's about a character who's an artist and children's book author, returns to his hometown after his mom dies. He's taking care of the things in her house, and he starts a strange new friendship. This book has some great passages. It put things into words that I've thought before but have never been able to find the words for. Check this one out if you are emotionally prepared for a long, kind of melancholic book. Moving on to the great books. My top 4 new releases this year, I think they are all great. Number 4 is Desire Museum by Danielle Cadena Dillon. I recommend this one if you're really into poetry because this has some hard puzzle-like poems that are a little bit difficult to get into. But if you do get into it, there are some great emotional poems hidden in there that I liked a lot. Number 3, Find Me as the Creature I Am by Emily Youngman Yoon. This is another collection of poetry. This one I recommend to anyone, even a casual poetry reader or somebody that wants to get into poetry. This one I found really easy to read. I finished it super fast, and there's a lot of great poems. Number 2 on my list is yet another collection of poetry, California Between the Fires by Ryan Kenneth Allen. This is my brother. We have a YouTube channel together, Some Brothers. Check it out if you're not already watching. Of course, I'm biased, but I really loved my brother's new collection of poetry. Definitely hit home for me, and I highly recommend it. But the number 1 new release this year for me is Nexus. A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI by Yuval Noah Harari. This is a fantastic ancient history to current events book about the way humans organize information into information network systems over time, leading all the way up to AI and what we should do with it in the future. It's mind-blowing. It's super interesting to read. Gives you a lot to think about. This is the first book I've read by this author, and I definitely want to check out some other ones now. It looks really long. Don't be scared to check it out. It looks longer than it is because there are a lot of notes at the end. This thing is super well researched, very nuanced, but not too difficult to read at the sentence level, in my opinion. So I highly, highly recommend Nexus. If you already watched the top 5 reads from 2024 video over on the Some Brothers channel, Nexus was missing from that video because Ryan and I filmed that one a little bit early before the end of the year so we could have it come out on January 1st. I hadn't yet finished reading Nexus because it was a gift given to me and it took me about to the end of the year to finish it. Thank you again, Sasha, for the book. I loved it. It was my favorite new release of the year. And that being said, I always love new reading recommendations. So please comment down below, what was your favorite new book that you read in 2024? There were a lot of new books on my radar that I didn't have the time to get around to reading this year. Please send me your recommendations. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the next book that you read. Bye.